Is yours a business that's been in your family for a while? Do you come from generations of the same?
No, not at all. I wasn't very good at school, so I went up through the ranks of dairy farming at age 16 and ended up working for the co-op farms in Shropshire, and gradually worked my way through the ranks until I was made redundant in 2004. So we decided to go out and buy our own cows and set up a cheese-making business in Suffolk. And the business grew and grew, and we were able to take on a tenancy on the Isle of Sark last year. So things have grown slightly.
Now, having said that, there you tell us a story there of having changed direction, having invested time and effort and made a success of something new. Are the pressures on farming elsewhere reaching you? Are you feeling the same pinch, for want of a bigger word?
Oh, without a shadow of doubt. I would imagine that costs themselves, and probably in the last 6 months or so, have certainly gone up 20-25%, and that could be anything from fertilizer to seed to grain to plastics to absolutely everything has gone up. You can't imagine that nothing will, and it's not just a gradual rise either. It's a sudden. It's probably since February, since Russia and Ukraine have kicked in. It's been a massive rise, and of course, people have also tried to get back what they've lost over the COVID pandemic and obviously Brexit as well. So it's a combination of three things really, which have really grown, and it's it's hard. So we are looking at ways of being even more efficient than we are, and eventually we will have to pass the costs back onto the customer.
When I think about it, we see the consequences of, for example, when there's rumours that we're about to run out of loo roll. We see what happens in the supermarkets when word of that kind of shortage goes around. But shortages of basic foodstuffs or
Yeah.
essential foodstuffs becoming essentially unaffordable, that will be quite a shock for
Yes,
most British people, will it not?
Yes, it will. But if you were to ask the general public what price was a litre of milk when they go into a supermarket, the chances are that they probably won't even know. If you put 10 pence on a litre of milk and you gave that straight back to the farmer, which some supermarkets did, but that would save the dairy industry overnight, and people would be happy to pay 10p. What's 10p? You'd lose that down the back of the sofa. So it's very, very important just to keep buying local and keep supporting certainly the dairy industry in the UK.
Around 12%, I read, of British farmers are said to be planning to quit the industry. I mean, let's just take that as a helpful figure to give us an idea. Are we contemplating, do you think, a very different use of our landscape? Are we talking about a deliberate and choreographed change to the way in which we as a population obtain and source our food and use the land?
I think there'll always be, land will always be farmed, and land will always be farmed in the most efficient way. There's no way that you could drive a combine up a mountain, for instance. So you've got to have sheep on a mountain to graze it. These things are here to stay. What we'll probably find is that more and more people will come in and able to manage those units and become even more efficient with better animals or husbandry ways. You talk about a 12%, but I would just wonder what the average is anyway. How many people are coming in and how many people are actually leaving naturally through succession and so forth. So it's a figure, but let's just wait and see exactly what happens with it.
I have to ask you while I have you here, Sark is somewhere I've visited, and it lives in my memory as a paradise of sorts. Is it keeping you proof from the what's happening elsewhere in the world, or do you feel increasingly that the outside world is encroaching upon you and bringing down wider world problems?
It's definitely very real. For instance, electricity, for instance, is generated by diesel generators. So the price of diesel is going up, therefore the price of electricity. For instance, our electric this month is 56 pence a kilowatt, and it's more likely to go even higher, that's probably to 80 pence a kilowatt in the not so distant future. So prices are going up. Of course, everything coming onto the island is brought in on freight. So again, that's diesel again, and it's the costs of actually staying on an isolated island is massive. However, we do have huge benefits as well. I mean, we have very little crime. There's no roads. There's no cars. There's no queuing for a petrol station. It's great, and it's a very relaxed environment to live in.